What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Tactical Fishing Company TV. I'm James. In this video, we're going to extend our DIY kayak build series for our Bonafide SS127. Last video we did was a pedal steering system, $30 budget. I'll drop that down below. Those of you that thought that was interesting, you might want to check this guy out right here. So we are doing a dial power system and battery relocation on our SS127. Now, this is a Minn Kota 30 thrust. Everything we used was under $50 with sale prices and reusing some of the cabling, but we'll go ahead and walk through how we did it. I'll drop pictures of the prices and the products we used, and then we'll do a functionality test. Let's get to it. Okay, the first thing we started off with, probably my most frustrating part because the bolts are corroded, was removing the original head from the trolling motor itself. Now I have this with some PET wrap, like rod cover material right now, but you know what a trolling motor looks like on here, the actual head of it. What we did with that, there's 4 to 6 bolts, Phillips head screws underneath it. You take it off, and we'll go ahead and we'll show you what that's going to look like. Once you take it in half, you will end up having your shaft. This is the shaft that connects. The outer part is just a shell. This is where your power wires and auxiliary wires connect to. And if you can see here, let's get the light. There seems like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 connectors. There's only 4 wires that come out of your shaft of your trolling motor. So when you're doing this, the only colors you need to worry about are the power and the ground, the red and the black wires coming off of this. They'll be sticking off the top. This is an open shaft here. What I did is I just tucked the white and the yellow wires back down in the tube, got them out of the way. The red and black wires were sticking out. That was it that I did back here. So what we are essentially doing here is we're going to work to a quick disconnect, which we'll talk about later. We'll go ahead and move to the front of the kayak, and we'll talk about the battery relocation and how to run your wiring. Some of you may already mount it in the storage hatch up in the front of the SS127. I didn't. I was mounting it behind my crate, so I wanted to make sure my weight was balanced between me, the motor, and the battery. So this actually fit perfect. This is just a standard cheap, I think it was like $5. I got it with the battery, a little case. It actually sits perfectly in place, and the tabs keep it held in here. So our battery fits. Just make sure wherever you're relocating to, the battery actually fits there. I don't like it moving around. I don't want it sliding back and forth. This is a nice snug fit on the SS127. So once we had our battery in place, we took our new battery cable wiring that we hooked up, that we created, and we had to measure it out. So for the SS127, from the front all the way to where I wanted it in this hatch back here, it was about 11 feet. I did 11.5 feet. Extra is better because you can pull out your module, which I'll show next, and you can do your splicing, your connecting. If there's any maintenance you need to do, you can pull it out and you're not having to shove your hands down in here. So we got our wiring done. Same as I did with the steering cables. I had to use a fishing rod to fish this in through the back. Coat hangers were not sturdy enough to attach the wiring to. The wire, this is 8-gauge wire. I went with a little bigger, thicker, pre-coated wiring. And again, for those of you that are concerned about going from different size wiring, you can go from a smaller to a bigger. I know some people are gonna jump in the comments on that one, but the wiring in the back, I'll show you, we used the original trolling motor wiring. We went to a bigger wiring. So we'll go ahead and move to the back. This has been relocated now. Battery's up here. We'll go and look at the power module, and we'll kind of talk through that. Okay, so this is our PWM. Again, it's mounted in the back. I have it mounted via Velcro so it doesn't slide. So how this works basically, it has a built-in 30-amp fuse. So for those of you that are worrying about an inline fuse, it has one built in. You can also put another one up at the battery on the positive cable if you want. Mine has not come in yet. I will be adding that. But basically, this is going to be routing our power from our motor in the back here through to our battery, which is these two here. They have an on-off switch. What I liked about this model, it had a built-in dial in that hole right there. So what I did, I took apart the casing here and I spliced in some wire and I relocated our dial. I'll show you where that is. But yeah, this is your PWM. You can look it up on Amazon. There's a lot of different ones. And again, there are some remote controlled ones that are really cool. They're just sold out. Maybe we'll eventually move to that. But now that we explained this, we'll go ahead and show you the dial. I mounted it back here so it's out safe out of the way. And it's mounted on top of a Tupperware in case there is water splash. It doesn't actually touch. I have an electrical surge box that I ordered that it will be mounted inside of. But we'll go ahead and move and show you the next step. So once we got the PWM located where we wanted to position it, the next thing that I did was configure my quick disconnect. So this actual piece here, the mount, it came as one piece. So this plug was the other side of this. I cut it in half. I'll post a picture of that up at the top. So what I did, I basically just cut that in half. I ran the actual plug receptacle. I drilled out a hole, lined it with silicone so it doesn't leak and it screws in. I ran that wiring to the motor terminals on the PWM, okay? And then what I did for this end was just attached this wiring to the factory, the red and black wiring I told you about coming out of the shaft. I wired that through them, to them. And what I did for extra wire, just to make sure the gauge matched, I took the original battery wiring right here. It's pretty long. I had extra and I utilized that so that way my wires matched and I didn't have to guess gauging. I'm not the best at that. So once that was complete, you know, I made sure it worked. This specific one, you know, the prong was a little off. I had to carefully bend it back, but you know, basically when you want to plug it and unplug it, it just plugs in. It's pretty tight too. You got to give it some force, and then it has a snap-in cap, which is really nice. So that's why we went with this particular one. You know, the next thing after that was actually getting our fitting. Now I'll post pictures of what it looked like before and the fitting. But basically what we did was we ran our stock wiring through the fitting and then ran it down and we spliced it right about here. Electrical tape the whole thing, and then we took some protective rod cover. I had extra rod covers. I took rod cover material and I wrapped it, taped it, and then for the bottom of our shaft, I took it and just kind of tied it. It's kind of hard to see. Tied it nicely. That way I could pull it off if I need to. I didn't want to tape it down or, you know, zip tie it. You could zip tie it, I guess, but I just taped it. It was easier. Or I just used the factory little scrunchie that it came with. Now, real quick, side tangent. You'll see that my steering mechanism is different. I'll drop those two up here real quick, just so you can see a lot more stable of a way to do your steering, as opposed to in my last video I had the U-joint. But I'll drop that here real quick so you can see it. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the dial positioning for our PWM, and we'll show you how we did that. Okay, so our dial, again, like I told you on the PWM, the only thing that comes with it is this red dial here. It is mounted to the PWM, so you have to take the case apart and you have to resplice new wire. Now what I did, I drilled a hole through right here, made sure the actual the square base of the dial could fit, and I'll show you. It's just a little screw-on dial. I made sure that fit in the hole as small as I could, and I took that coat hanger and I fished the new splice wire all the way back. Now, I will tell you right now, the easiest thing of this whole process was fishing that line in terms of the dial. The actual wire on the PWM for this potentiometer is so small. It was a pain to find a butt connector of some sort that would match up to it. We did it, it worked out. But be prepared, if you order this model that I posted, that is the biggest pain in the butt. So obviously you can see mounted on the side. The theory, I'm sitting, you know, if I shut this, you'll see it's gonna block our lighting, but my seat's here, reach down, on, off. It doesn't go in reverse. That is the only complaint that I have. I'm gonna find a way to make it work. I assume that's what that white and yellow wiring is. If you know more about the Minn Kota series than I do, please let me know. But the theory is sit here, reach down to my side, can go in any increment that I want. And I'll show you the increments later on once we do the testing. My battery was dead. I tested it out yesterday, but so we threw it on a jump starter for now. So when I turn this on, it's gonna pulsate. That's because of this, but we can still run through how the dial works. So we'll go ahead and we'll take this off. Hopefully you're charged. There we go. All right, so you hear it clicking. There's the dial. Turn it on. Boom. Now we can adjust how slow we want it. It's even slower. See if we can get it. Here's off. Powered up. And that's all at the side of you. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up how we did our dial powered motor control on our Minn Kota 30 on our Bonafide SS127. Again, here's our dial. You know, for me, it's gonna be a lot easier to reach down, turn power on, turn it off, than reaching to that back there and grabbing the extension handle that I made out of a shop vac tube. So if you like the content, please leave a comment below, hit the like button, subscribe to us. We're doing DIY content on top of fishing. So any improvements you guys can give for our videos, we appreciate the feedback. Drop a comment down. The last video was a pretty big hit in terms of comments, improvements for us, and we actually applied those to our setup. So budget build for our motor. I think it's a success. Try it out at home. Let me know how you think. Thanks for checking us out.